Hello everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. In today's video, we'll dive into an emotional story about Tuna, a woman whose world shatters when she discovers that her brother is not truly her blood relative. Lost and broken, she leaves the farm to hide deep in the mountains while Alex and Johnny desperately search for her through the storm. What happens next is a journey of pain, love, and redemption. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss our upcoming videos. Tuna's fragile world crumbles when a DNA test reveals Johnny, the man she always believed to be her brother, shares no blood relation with her. Overwhelmed by despair, she leaves the farm with her child and hides in a mountain crevice, even considering ending her life. Meanwhile, Alex is consumed by guilt for accidentally exposing the truth, while Johnny blames him for Tuna's suffering. Yet, both men set aside their differences to search for her in the storm. When they finally find her, Tuna is torn between hopelessness and the faint pull of love and family. Alex confesses his feelings, and Johnny admits his regret, assuring her she will always be his sister in spirit. Surrounded by rain and sorrow, Tuna realizes she is not alone, and that love, not blood, binds hearts together. The midday sun pierced through the gaps of the thatched roof, spilling streaks of light across the farmyard. Tuna moved slowly, broom in hand, sweeping the dry leaves scattered across the ground. Her movements were mechanical, but her mind was restless. Something weighed heavy on her heart, an unease she couldn't shake. As she swept closer to the fence, her eyes caught a folded sheet of white paper wedged between the wooden posts. Curious, she set the broom aside and picked it up. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded it, the words jumping out at her like venom. DNA test results. The verdict was merciless. Lytuna and Johnny shared no blood relation. Her knees weakened. The broom fell from her grasp, clattering to the ground. No, this can't be true," she whispered, her voice barely audible. For years, she had clung to the idea that Johnny was her older brother, her only family left in this harsh world. Now, even that fragile lifeline was being ripped away. Her chest tightened, breaths coming in shallow bursts. She tried to call Alex, her hands fumbling with the phone. The line rang, but no one answered. She tried again, desperate, then dialed Johnny. Silence. Both attempts ended in emptiness, feeding the storm building inside her. "Why would they hide this from me?" Tuna muttered, tears welling in her eyes. The sheet of paper shook violently in her hands, mirroring her own breaking spirit. She looked around the empty farmyard, where her child lay asleep in the wooden house. The loneliness pressed in on her like an invisible weight. It wasn't just betrayal. It was the collapse of her entire world. She had always believed that no matter what struggles she faced, she at least had family. Now, even that foundation crumbled to dust. The truth cut her adrift, and she was drowning in despair. The afternoon breeze swept through, carrying a biting chill that mocked her fragile hopes. She stood frozen, her gaze locked on the paper, its ink like a dagger carving into her soul. The sunlight felt cruel, shining too brightly, as if ridiculing her pain. By dusk, the farm glowed under a crimson veil of light. Tuna stood outside the wooden house, her child cradled in her arms, tears threatening to spill. The DNA results, coupled with Alex's sister's harsh words, had pierced her heart like twin blades. She kissed her child's forehead, her chest aching with guilt. She whispered, "I won't let you suffer because of me." She had made her decision. With a heavy heart, she penned a letter on rough paper, thanking Alex for his kindness and wishing him happiness. Her handwriting shook with each stroke, every word a painful farewell. She placed the phone he had given her on the table, severing their fragile bond. Gathering a few belongings, she stepped out into the twilight, her small figure fading against the darkening path. The crow of distant roosters echoed like a sorrowful goodbye. Meanwhile, in the workshop, Alex was busy with machinery, the hum of engines filling the air. Mr. Duong stopped by to check the equipment, but Alex's mind drifted, unsettled by an unexplainable worry. He brushed it aside, unaware of the storm that had already taken Tuna away. Night crept in, swallowing the farm in shadow. Tuna, clutching her child tightly, wandered into the forest. She chose a narrow, rugged trail, her mind clouded with thoughts of escape. Escape from betrayal, from shame, and from the unbearable truth. Her tears blurred the path ahead, but she pressed on, whispering apologies to her child, her heart torn between despair and the instinct to protect. By the time she reached a cluster of cliffs deep in the mountain, she was exhausted. There, in the hollow of a rocky crevice, she found shelter. It was damp, cold, and desolate, but it was away from everyone. Away from the eyes that judged her, away from the voices that lied to her. She sat down, her child nestled in her lap. The thought of ending it all crossed her mind like a shadow. If even Johnny wasn't her blood, then what ties did she have left in this world? Would it be easier to simply vanish, to take her child with her into the silence of the mountains? Her body trembled as tears streamed down her face. But as her child stirred in her arms, innocence shining through small, sleepy eyes, she stopped herself. I can't leave you alone," she whispered. That faint flicker of responsibility was the only thing holding her back from the edge. Back at the farm, Alex's worst fear unfolded. He discovered the DNA paper missing from his desk. Panic surged as he rushed back to the wooden house, calling out, "Tuna!" Silence. The rooms were empty, her belongings gone. On the table, the phone and the letter awaited him. He unfolded the letter with shaking hands. Each line pierced him. Gratitude, sorrow, farewell. Thank you. I hope you find happiness. His vision blurred with tears. The DNA paper lay nearby, a cruel reminder of his mistake. How could I have been so careless? He shouted, blaming himself, his voice breaking in the hollow room. He bolted outside into the night, calling Tuna's name again and again, his cries swallowed by the darkness. Then the rain came. Cold drops pelted him, soaking his clothes, chilling him to the bone. But he didn't stop. With a flashlight in hand, he stumbled through the paths, desperate to find her. Every call of her name echoed his despair. A desperate man chasing after someone he couldn't bear to lose. His mind replayed their moments together. Her shy smile when she served him porridge, the quiet resilience she carried despite her struggles. And it was then that Alex admitted to himself what he had long buried. She was no longer just someone he had helped. She was someone he loved. "I love you, Tuna," he whispered into the storm, a confession carried by the wind, perhaps too late. Meanwhile, inside the hollow rock shelter, Tuna clutched her child closer. The rain drummed against the mountainside, the sound a haunting rhythm of her sorrow. She stared at the flickering flame of a small candle she had lit, whispering apologies to her child for dragging them into this misery. Her eyes were heavy with despair, but she forced herself to remain strong for the little one in her arms. Though surrounded by silence, she could still feel Alex's presence in her heart, like an echo refusing to fade. Far away, Alex stumbled deeper into the forest, rain blurring his sight, legs heavy, but his determination unshaken. "I will find you," he vowed, pushing forward into the dark unknown. Both, though separated by the cruel hand of fate, carried the same ache in their hearts, a longing for each other, a fragile hope that somehow, in the vast emptiness of night, they might not be completely lost. The forest grew darker as the rain thickened, heavy drops beating against the leaves and earth. Alex stumbled through the mud, his flashlight flickering weakly, but his determination pushed him onward. Every gust of wind seemed to carry her name, and he shouted into the emptiness, "Tuna, where are you?" His voice cracked with desperation. The storm raged, but inside the mountain crevice, Tuna sat with her child bundled in her arms. The damp stone walls seemed to close in on her. Her thoughts spiraled as the candlelight flickered against the jagged rock. The DNA results replayed in her mind like a cruel joke. Johnny, the person she had called brother all her life, was not tied to her by blood. "What do I have left?" she whispered, clutching her knees while her child slept soundly. "Even the only family I believed in isn't truly mine." Her eyes glistened, tears dripping onto the dirt floor. She had considered ending it, slipping into the abyss of silence forever. But the warmth of her child's tiny hand anchored her, keeping her tethered to life despite the storm inside her heart. She pulled her child closer, whispering, "I'll endure for you. No matter how broken I feel, I'll endure." Back at the farm, Johnny burst into Alex's workshop, his voice sharp and angry. "Alex, how could you let this happen? How could you let her find out?" His face was red with fury, his chest heaving. Alex looked up, soaked from the rain, his eyes burning with guilt. "I didn't mean for her to see it. The paper, I must have dropped it. I never wanted to hurt her." Johnny slammed his fist on the table. "She's devastated. Do you understand? That truth was something we should have handled carefully, not thrown at her like a blade." His words struck like thunder, echoing in the wooden room. Alex's voice broke. "I know. And now she's gone. I'm searching for her, out there in the forest. If something happens to her, I'll never forgive myself." Johnny's anger faltered, worry replacing his rage. His voice dropped. "Gone? Where?" "I found her letter. She left. She didn't want to be a burden anymore," Alex explained, his hands trembling as he held out the crumpled paper. "She's hurting, Johnny, and it's my fault." For a long moment, Johnny stood in silence, his eyes scanning the letter, his jaw clenched. He cared for Tuna, perhaps not as a brother by blood, but as someone who had always felt responsible for her. Now, she was lost in the wilderness, and time was slipping away. "Then we have to find her," Johnny finally said, his tone heavy with regret. "She may not be my sister by blood, but she'll always be family to me." The two men, bound by guilt and love, set out into the night together. Flashlights cut through the thick rain, voices calling her name over and over. Meanwhile, in the mountain hollow, Tuna sat listening to the storm outside. The roar of the wind and the crash of thunder mirrored the chaos inside her chest. She wrapped her arms around her child tighter. She murmured, "If only I could disappear and take you away from all of this. Maybe the world wouldn't miss us." Her voice trembled, but as she felt the gentle rise and fall of her child's breathing, she stopped herself again. That little life was her anchor. The storm raged on, but Alex and Johnny pressed forward. Their flashlights flickered against twisted tree roots and slick rocks. "Tuna!" Alex shouted again, his throat raw. He pictured her smile, her soft laugh, the way she carried pain quietly. Every memory fueled his steps. At last, Alex's flashlight caught something. A faint trail of footprints pressed into the muddy ground, smaller ones alongside them. His chest tightened. "Here!" he cried, signaling Johnny. They followed the trail up into the rocky cliffs. The higher they climbed, the more treacherous it became. Stones slipped beneath their boots, rain slicking every surface, but they pressed on. Inside the crevice, Tuna stirred at the sound of faint voices. She froze, heart pounding. Were those hallucinations? Or was someone really calling her name? She pressed her back against the stone, clutching her child tighter. "Tuna!" Alex's voice, hoarse and desperate, echoed again, closer this time. Her eyes widened, tears spilling. She shook her head. "No, don't come here. Don't find me. I don't deserve to be found." But despite her words, her heart raced with a mixture of fear and hope. Johnny's voice followed, trembling but resolute. "Tuna, please, answer us." Her body quivered. After all the lies, after the unbearable truth, could she still respond? Could she still trust them? She bit her lip, torn between stepping deeper into the shadows or crying out. At that moment, her child whimpered in her arms, the soft sound carrying into the storm. Alex froze, his ears straining. "Did you hear that?" He turned, pointing his flashlight toward the rocky hollow. "Over there." They scrambled up, slipping on wet stone, their breaths ragged. At the mouth of the crevice, Alex shone his light and finally saw her. Tuna sat on the cold ground, her hair damp, her clothes clinging to her frail body. She clutched her child tightly, her eyes swollen from crying. She looked like a ghost of herself, fragile yet unbroken. "Tuna," Alex whispered, his heart tearing at the sight. She turned away, her voice shaking. "Why did you come? You should have let me go." Alex stepped closer, ignoring the sharp rocks cutting into his hands as he steadied himself. "Because I can't lose you. Not like this. Not when I—" His voice cracked, but he forced the words out. "Not when I love you." Her body trembled, her tears flowing anew. "Love? How can you love someone like me? I have nothing left, Alex. Even the family I thought was mine wasn't real. What do I have to give you? Nothing but pain. Johnny, standing behind Alex, lowered his head. His voice was low but steady. Tuna, I may not be your brother by blood, but you'll always be my sister in my heart. I failed you by hiding the truth, and I'll regret it forever. But please, don't punish yourself like this. You're not alone. The words broke something inside her. For so long, she had carried the burden of loneliness. Now, in the pouring rain, two voices reached out to her, one with love, one with regret, pulling her back from the edge. Her sobs grew louder, echoing through the hollow. Alex stepped forward, gently kneeling before her. Tuna, I don't care about the DNA or the bloodlines or what anyone says. What matters is you and your child. You're not a burden. You're my world. Slowly, her grip loosened. Her child stirred, blinking at the unfamiliar lights. Tuna looked down at the little face, then back up at Alex. His eyes were raw with sincerity, rain mixing with tears on his cheeks. Something inside her softened, the walls she had built beginning to crumble. For the first time since the truth shattered her life, she felt a flicker of safety. She whispered, Alex, I'm so tired. He reached out, his hand trembling, and placed it gently on her shoulder. Then let me carry the weight with you. In that moment, under the storm's relentless downpour, something shifted. The despair didn't vanish, but it was met with a new strength. His love, Johnny's remorse, and her own will to endure for her child. The three of them sat there in the rocky hollow, the storm raging outside, but a fragile peace forming within. As dawn slowly broke, painting the clouds with faint hues of gold, Alex knew this was only the beginning. Healing would take time, scars would remain, but at least Tuna was no longer lost in the shadows. She had been found, not just by him, but by the love and bonds that no DNA test could erase.